everyone. So I've seen more of this kind of calorie restriction videos. So I definitely feel like I had to speak up and say something about it, because I see this far too often now. The likes of High Carb Hannah, this girl who's piggybacking off High Carb Hannah, her channel is actually kind of like blowing up right now. What is she at? 8K. Wow, she's at 8K subscribers. The last time I saw it, it was 7K, and then I think time before that it was like 1K. I remember seeing this girl on Instagram. She was popping up in my feed for some reason. I have no idea why. Maybe it's like some vegan tag or something. And I remember seeing her coming up, and she's basically just like calories in, calories out, calories in, calories out. And that's all she says. She's basically like a broken record on the fact that, oh, if you eat so many calories, you lose weight and blah blah blah. So in front of her, she basically talks about this smoothie bowl, and it's a very high fat smoothie bowl in my opinion. It's certainly not a high carb vegan smoothie bowl. Like for me, if I was to have made, I never had a smoothie bowl in my life, but if I was to make a smoothie, I would literally just like put as many bananas as fit in the blender. I wasn't in the past. I wasn't using refined sugar, but certainly now I'd add a bit of sugar in as well, or at least some dates or something like that. And then yeah, I'd probably just put water in it. I've never been one for like adding plant milks and stuff to. It just like bumps up the price. You know, you've got like a cheapish smoothie, and it just the price just flies up when you start adding like plant-based milks, especially when you're buying these expensive brands as well. So yeah, I mean, price aside, if I was to have made a smoothie, my smoothie would have been probably at least 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 calories or something like that. This girl's got oh, and of course there wouldn't be any crap in it. Maybe I'd have thrown some like greens powders in it for a little bit of like green nutrition or something, or some blueberries, something like that. But this girl, she's thrown kind of like fatty granola, seeds, like all kind of garbage that you don't need, and she's trying to use this as like a typical bowl. So anyway, we'll see what she says in the video.
So actually it really does shock me that this right here is a very kind of typical vegan breakfast is about 900 calories. Like if
Typical vegan breakfast. I've never seen this kind of breakfast in my life. Maybe on these poses or something on Instagram. Probably don't even eat that though. They probably just like post it. I've never seen this type of meal in my life.
if that doesn't shock you, I don't know what would. Hello and welcome back to my channel. So one of the issues that I see all the time is that people go vegan and they eat like all the vegan recipe books and ebooks and vegan influencers, but they don't lose weight, and some women even gain weight. And
Okay, so let's stop you right there. The women gaining weight are people such as yourself, coming from a calorie restrictive background, and you gain that weight. That's basically adaptive thermogenesis. Your body has been in starvation mode. You need to gain a little bit of weight, right? So your body's like, wait a minute, we've been starving, and then suddenly food arrives, right? This is like a survival mechanism. This is like survival 101, right? If you're an animal and suddenly it's winter and you eat grass, and grass doesn't exist anymore because it's now snow, then oh, what are you gonna do, right? You're just gonna like chill and not be able to eat anything, right? And you're gonna slim down, and obviously you're not necessarily gonna die, but you're gonna slim down, and you're gonna go hungry over this time, right? And yeah, for sure you'll be able to eat some pieces of grass, but you're certainly not going to be eating your daily caloric needs. So then spring comes, the grass appears, and it's like bam, you just got to feast on that, and your body is just going to literally activate post-starvation obesity. So essentially the deer or whatever would have been super super skinny, and then bam, it will get back to its natural weight super 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 quick, and then it will just kind of like maintain after that. But I mean, I'm not saying the animal would get obese or anything, but typically this is kind of like for people who are already a healthy weight. So people who have became you know, like anorexic kind of BMI, then they would, yeah, they would gain this weight, and then maybe they'll be like still a healthy BMI, but kind of like a little bit like fuller, right? That's what I've seen most girls do. But then these girls who are already kind of fuller themselves, and then they're trying to lose weight and thinking, oh, I'm going to eat all the carbs and I'm going to lose weight. Then when they don't lose weight and they gain some post-starvation obesity and they actually become maybe obese or very overweight as part of the process, they're like, oh no, this doesn't work. I've got to stop. And then the default for these girls seems to be calorie restriction, which is a real shame because I've seen a lot of them, especially people like High Carb Hannah, who have been doing this lifestyle for years, like 5, 6, 7 years, however long it is. And I think to myself, by now, she would have just been like eating all she wanted, promoting that to a 700,000 subscribers, or 800 or a million or whatever it is now, and she'd be promoting that to them, and all these women all over the world would be empowered. But instead, she's disempowering them by saying the only way to lose weight is to restrict. You know, you got to eat vegetables instead of carbs.
That was me for so many years. I was trying to eat like all the guys that I saw on YouTube and Instagram, and wondering why I was still overweight, and I was never able to maintain, like eating something like 30 bananas a day.
See, I mean, there she doesn't even look that bad. She looks obviously like fuller, like I'm saying, but she shouldn't. This just shows how what is it like? How just purely interested in aesthetics and just like, you know, shallow this girl is. Like, okay, yeah, she's got a little bit of a belly going on, but for sure, just wear some baggier clothes and get through it, right? You don't need to look like some supermodel every day, do you? And at the end of the day, she would probably look how she looks now had she have gone like all in and then continued looking like that.
Or like doing like,
and she definitely wasn't at like an unhealthy weight range as well. Like, I don't think she would have suffered from any like heart issues or anything like at that kind of point.
a fully raw kind of thing. I just always like yo-yoed with my weight and never was able to maintain like a lean stomach, which I pretty much do now after 2 little kitties. So I want to compare what I eat versus some kind of like really typical vegan influencer breakfast, and there's a big difference here in terms of calories. So this meal that we're going to make is like your typical kind of, you think like your Instagram breakfast, like a smoothie bowl, right? That's what everyone's eating. And so this smoothie bowl is going to be 900 calories, which, okay, to get some perspective of that, there's 2 fundamentals that you need to think if you're trying to lose weight and if you're struggling to lose weight. Like for anyone, for any kind of diet that you're on, like it's not like a buy my fit test.
Let me guess. Eat less, exercise more.
Or do this like waist training thing. Like literally to lose weight, you must be in a calorie deficit. Basically what that means is that the amount of calories going out of your body are more than the amount of calories coming into your body. So that there is a deficit of calories there, and that your body will actually dip into your fat stores. So the second fundamental that is needed with this is that you have to be consistent. There's not a calorie deficit there, not consistently. If on Sunday through like Friday you're really good with your diet, like you're really on point, you're eating, I don't know, maybe like 1200 calories a day, but then comes the weekend and you're like, stuff it, you have this kind of like what the hell effect, which is a real psychological thing that people do, and then they just go completely opposite, so that your baseline of calories is going to be really in a surplus or at your maintenance, so that's why you're not losing weight. Issue being, especially as a vegan, it's very easy when you're eating these kind of foods that I'm going to show you to not actually be in a calorie deficit, because for most women, I said that they could stand up here with me, remains me seeing whether that's actually a good idea, but for most women, like perspective wise, you're going to be needing around about between 1600 and about 1900 calories to be in a 20% deficit. Might be a little bit less for some of you, might be a bit more for some of you, but that's the kind of ballpark that you're thinking with. So 1,000 calorie meal as one of 3 with some snacks and stuff in there doesn't really cut it. It's gonna get you, for most of you, into a calorie surplus. So let's get cracking into all of this stuff. Let's get going. All right, so And I've weighed and measured out everything, so I know the accuracy of this. So I've got some bananas in here. It's going to go into a smoothie. Do you want to put that into a smoothie, Riley?
Me too.
Do you want to put those in?
280 grams of bananas. Like, wow, I would have, in a million years, I would have never have used that kind of little amount of bananas for some kind of smoothie. Wow.
I'm just picking something out.
How about we put these in? You want to help? Good job. Yep, how are we going to put this in? Okay, this is some date paste that I got here. A lot of people use maple syrup, but I didn't have any maple syrup. I don't have any, so I'm just going to put this in. But this is kind of like what a lot of people put in a sweetener. Sticky, do you want to lick it?
Wow, all 15 grams of it.
Me too, lick it.
How about you wait? And then what I noticed a lot of people on the interwebs is they put some kind of like superfood power to give them extra powers. So I'm going to put in some beetroot powder. That's what I had. And this is my, oh man, this is my vessel, because look at all these things. I ran out of containers, so now I've got to use a lid. So I'm gonna, this is like solidified, yikes. Yeah.
I love some.
Oh, you love some. Okay, yeah, lick that if you want. Get some beetroot powder into you. And got some raspberries. The berries.
She's even counting raspberries as calories. Wow.
Because we're fancy like that. And then I put some soy milk in here, and I got some of this soy milk, measured out that. Okay, so we made our smoothie. I actually don't know how people like do things in a clean way when they're trying to make YouTube videos. They probably don't have kids. So I'm going to put this into here.
Me too.
You know that the actual thing about this though, the actual thing is this, I find interesting, is that I would actually be eating like double this. Like back in the day when I ate these kind of foods, I would be eating double this amount of food. And then these here I measured out. So this would, I think like a lot of people would put something like
See what? One of the troubles is with like these store-bought granolas is they're actually getting a lot of calories from fat. They've got like oils, and then they've got like nuts and seeds and things like that. Now I'm not really saying there's any serious issues with like having maybe a sprinkle of nuts and seeds a day, but usually these kind of packaged granolas are typically, you know, instead of being like just pure carbs with like a lot of cereal is, and then it's like 370 calories of mostly carbohydrates, you know, per 100. These end up being more like 450, you know, because they've got essentially per 100, they've got maybe 20 or 30 grams of fat, which you really don't want. It's just, I mean, for these calorie restrictors as well, it's like, why would you even consume fatty food? It's just like bulking your calories up when you could eat more carbs. Now, I'm not saying, you know, I agree with something like that, but certainly carbohydrate is definitely lower. It's 3.8 calories or something per 100, something like that.
Granola on their smoothie bowl. I had bought one.
And yeah, if she was using a lot of this like kind of vegan granola stuff, you know, with all the fat in, and then she was gaining weight, you'd probably say why. You know, 'cause it's like the fat you eat's the fat you are at the end of the day.
Because I could not be stuffed making a granola that I was not going to eat. But I honestly suspect it would be a similar amount of calories if you made your own, because most of the time you'd be putting things like maple syrup in, you'd be putting these like dried grains in, and lots of dried fruit, and also some kind of sweetener like date paste or maple syrup. So even homemade granola is going to be...
See, she hasn't mentioned any of the nuts and seeds. If you were to make a homemade granola yourself, it would, and you would probably just put in syrup and you know, the grains and the things like that. You probably, and dried fruit. Yeah, it would still probably be only, you know, 380 calories per 100 anyway. It wouldn't be 420 or 450 like it is with all that fat.
High in calories.
Oopsie.
So I feel very like Instagrammy. So we got that. It's not even tons. Think about the fact that if you were making this, You'd probably be like nibbling on this as well, 'cause I was nibbling on this. This is freaking yum. So you're going to be eating more calories even there, and I think like that little bit right there is about 200 calories. Got some peanut butter. I measured it out.
What a way to live your life though, right? Just like literally being like a slave to the number of calories in each meal that you have, being like counting your calories all day and being like obsessed with it, and being like, oh, this meal was like 500 calories, you know, and oh no, I've only got like 1,000 calories left for my day. I mean, oh my god.
This is about 20 grams. This is about 200 calories as well. So this is
Peanut butter, like, why are you adding that? It's just full of fat.
I think this was about 200 calories, just a little bit of that. Some coconut, tiny amount of hemp seeds here.
Wow, this gotta be colourful.
Okay, so perfect smoothie bowl, but she's like covered it all in fat, and then wondering why it makes people fat.
It is, isn't it? And I think that's it. So this right here is your kind of like very typical, quite small, I actually think, meal, vegan kind of Instagrammer meal. And I'm not joking, like I'm going to put it up there and you'll be able to have a look at it, but this is a 900 calorie meal. So if you're trying to lose weight, 900 calorie meals are not going to be helpful for you. You're wanting to more be in the range of maybe 500 calories per meal, because that gives you
500 calories for me. 500 calories is like a little snack. Like I'd be like, where's the rest?
some room to also have some snacks
and maybe like a coffee,
which is going to have some milk in it, things like that. 900 calories if you're eating meals like this. This is why you can't lose weight on a vegan diet. But let's give it a taste
Yeah, because of all the fat in it.
test anyway. Oh, it tastes good. Alright, so now we're going to make a smoothie which is much more like in line with being good for weight loss. And I'm going to use this dirty blender because I don't care. It's not dirty, okay, come on. Anyway, so to be honest, like a smoothie is not really the kind of thing that I really eat for breakfast anymore. I don't find it super filling. But I'm going to go ahead and put some banana in there, because if you want to eat a smoothie bowl, like eat your darn smoothie bowl, but make sure that it's actually helping you get to your goals. And if your goal is weight loss, then you got to be in a calorie deficit. I'm sorry, there's no other way around it. I got some cherries in there.
See, that's the trouble. These girls, because they're not consistent with anything in their lives, they think that's the only thing that they have now. You know, the kind of quick fix. And then what happens is they get stuck on this quick fix of, you know, like 7 pounds in 7 days calorie deficit kind of diet. And then before you know it, they've lowered the metabolism or whatever. So then they can only eat like 1,400 calories a day. So then they have to keep eating that as maintenance. And oh no, if they eat 1,600, they gain like a kilo a week or something. And then, because obviously the body's like, well, wait a minute, we're getting some food here. Even though it's only 200 more calories of food, I'll take it. So then, of course, later on, you know, they can even mess up the metabolism even more, and then get it to the point where it's like, you know, it needs to be eating only 1,200 calories. Or they might, in between this, they might end up like refeeding and going on holiday and having a, you know, forgetting to take the MyFitnessPal app out at every restaurant or whatever. And before they know it, they've ended up eating more calories, gaining some weight. So then, back on the calorie restrictive diet, and then they find out that they're only eating 1,200 calories, you know. So it's the kind of it's one of them things where you kind of get sucked in, and then it's like it's hard to climb out. It's like one of those sinkholes, you know, in the seas, where it's kind of like spinning and you're kind of getting sucked in. So this is right where she is now. She's being sucked into the sinkhole. And the sad thing is, she's trying to take all these other girls and vegan mums and whatever with her.
Got my soy milk that I measured out. I probably actually wouldn't normally put very much in that, and these have been thawing for ages. And I'm going to put a little bit of cinnamon here. We'll see if it's a little bit or not when I do this. Quite often I just go like this and it's like all in there. Okay, grab this out. By the way, look at my socks. Like they've got dinosaurs in them. I think they're cool. Anyway. random as anything. Okay, so how do people do this? I don't know. And normally I would make smoothie bowls that would be less runny, but these bananas were thawing for ages while I got all this stuff ready. Okay, so now I've got some, remember the other smoothie, this one here, I put peanut butter in it. So if you still like the taste of peanut butter, I've got mixed up some of this PB powder, which...
Yeah, I've got nothing wrong with that. That's no problem with that. That PB2 is good stuff. It's like pretty much tastes like peanut butter, but it's basically got all the fat taken out, so it's basically just like carbs and protein. It's pretty good. It tastes nice too.
Is 90% less fat, way less calories, and you still get this kind of...
Certainly, if I wanted to get my peanut butter fix in, and something like PB2 was to be around, I'd probably definitely be putting that on top of a smoothie or something, but I won't probably be putting like a teaspoon or whatever she's going to put on though.
Taste. So you could like drizzle, this one's not as pretty, let's be honest. Drizzle a bit on there. And then I was going to put one of these on. And these are like...
Wow, one wheat Bix.
Honestly, this is not the kind of food that I would eat most of the time. Like, but the thing is, if I showed you what I actually have for breakfast, which is, at the moment, I'm loving like broccoli and sweet potato, you'd be like, it's just too out there. But, so this is something that is actually doable for most people. So you've got your kind of crunchy element in there. And I was going to cut up some apples, so I'm going to be back in a sec. Okay, so I put my apple on there. I'm going to put a little bit more of this on.
Wow, half an apple.
And this is going to be yum. Like, it's not as pretty. I could have, if I had been more thinking about it, I would have made it pretty. But I wasn't really thinking. Anyway, so, and I will show you as well. I'm going to show you, like, up here how many calories this actually has in it. But comparative wise, these are double. Like, that's actually, this is more food. This lower calorie one is more food. But this is nearly double the calories in it. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but it depends on what your goals are. Are your goals eating, like, hashtag goal meals, or are they losing weight? It's up to you. Anyway, yeah, so go make this, and, oh, I should give it a little bit of a taste test. If you like this video, please hit subscribe.
No, I don't like this video. I'll be giving it a dislike. Okay, so... yeah, at the end of the day, it's just more kind of calorie restriction propaganda. Obviously, finding like sneaky ways to, you know, kind of up the volume, so they can still fill the stomachs. Which is another thing as well. It's like, if your stomach can fit that much food in, then shouldn't you be eating that much food, right? Not like just filling in vegetables and having broccoli and sweet potatoes for breakfast and things like that, when, you know, your body wants to be eating like plenty of food. It doesn't want to be eating like tons of vegetables and things like that, because at the end of the day, we're not gorillas, right? Gorillas sit there and eat tons of greens and whatever, right? But we're not gorillas. We're more like chimpanzees in the fact that we'll be sitting there eating loads of fruit and kind of calorie dense kind of meals. So I think all of this kind of propaganda that they're putting out there is just detrimental to these girls who are going to be watching it. They're going to be watching it and they're going to be thinking, oh, I've got 5-10 pounds to lose. So then, of course, they're going to be calorie restricting, and then it's just a vicious cycle. It's like the only way to break that cycle, as counterintuitive as it sounds, is to eat more, right? And then what happens during that time is you heal your metabolism and your body begins to trust you again, and it understands that you're not in a famine. And then after that, your body will, yeah, for sure, you'll get some post-starvation obesity. You won't necessarily become obese, depending on what position you are. You might gain 10% of your weight. So maybe you're 50 kilos and, you know, you're at a comfortable weight, but you've been calorie restricting to get there. So maybe you'll gain 5 kilos, 6 kilos, 10 kilos, something like that. So I don't necessarily think you become obese with it. It depends, obviously, and it depends what kind of food you refeed it on. You have these all-in people like Stephanie Buttermore. She's obviously gaining quite a lot, and she's certainly, you can tell she's not comfortable in her body image, and which is fine. At least she's, you know, refeeding and overcoming the problem. But she's obviously doing it on the wrong types of food, you know, kind of like fatty foods, which I guess can be fine if you're having to overcome an actual eating disorder mindset. But for these girls who are just simply or people in general even, who are just simply looking for weight loss, and they've been doing calorie restricting, not necessarily like in an unhealthy way, but they're just been thinking this is the only way to lose weight, you're just going to set yourself up for failure. Like, are you interested in being lean for the next 50, 60, 70 years of your life? I mean, all of these girls that I'm talking about are all like plant-based as well, or vegan or whatever. So essentially they're eating pretty healthy diets, and you know, they're either moderately active or mildly active. So they're not exactly you know, getting unhealthy. The only unhealthy thing they're doing in this instance is the calorie restriction. So at the end of the day, these girls have probably got another 70 years left at least. Do they want to be calorie restricting for the next 70 years? Like, would you want to like count your calories every single day and be worried about portions and eating too much? And you know, if you do eat a little bit more one day, gaining 10 kilos in, you know, 4 weeks or something, because that's the kind of weight that can happen if, you know, you continue down this kind of path. So at the end of the day, like I said, as counterintuitive as it sounds, you need to eat your appetite, you know, of high carb foods. Don't go eating those fatty foods, because at the end of the day, your body might be craving that, because your body knows that the fatty foods are the more calorie dense. So this is why during my time where I was accidentally under eating, it wasn't on purpose, it was accidentally, I found myself craving the fatty foods, the peanut butter. And you know, I even went down the path of thinking maybe I've got some kind of like binge eating disorder where, you know, I'm addicted to peanut butter, or addicted to like fatty nut butters, when as soon as I upped the carbs and started eating plenty, I'm not even thinking about fats. I'm not even thinking about getting a peanut butter fix or anything like that. So for me, yeah, for sure, peanut butter tastes nice, but I'm not like sitting there dreaming about it like I was before. So if these girls want to recover, they just need to eat as much high carb food as they can, and just feel the appetite, you know, just sit there and just put a bunch of bananas in front of you, a bunch of steamed potatoes, a big bowl, and just simply eat as much as you want. And if you're hungry, if you're still hungry after you've eaten that bowl, doesn't matter how many calories it is, eat more, right? I've heard some crazy stories of these girls recovering, and they've been eating like 10,000 calories and stuff. And you must think to yourself, the body's doing that for a reason. It's because it needs to heal. So at the end of the day, you start doing that, your body's going to heal, and it's going to balance out again. And then eventually, it might be a year, it might be 6 months, it might be 2 years, but eventually it's certainly not going to be, you know, forever. Your body will reach its set point again, you know, that comfortable weight range where your body's lean, it's comfortable, there's not too much fat on, it's not underweight, it's not overweight, right? So at the end of the day, it kind of saddens me to see these women like disempowering all these other women out there. I understand, you know, they don't want to gain weight in the short term and things like that, but it's just sad that their kind of bad behavior is rubbing off on a lot of other girls. You know, I see the comments on these things and they're all like so happy and yay, you know, this video is really inspiring for me and stuff, but essentially it's inspiring them to go down a negative wrong path, which saddens me, you know. So at the end of the day, this isn't a hate video. I don't hate this person, you know. She is trying to obviously help people, and she's doing it with good intentions, but sadly her like knowledge is like misguided, you know. She's been misguided into this, and then sadly now she's misguiding these other girls too. So anyway, if you like this type of video, give it a like, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video, everyone.